the 11th episode, and we have a special guest. We have, nonetheless, an ex scientist, an award winning entrepreneur, author of the book Single and Too Tired to Mingle. And I've read that, and it's fantastic. It's such a fun book, and it's playful. It's good. It's really good. I forgot to mention the podcast hoster with over 10K followers, subscribers on her YouTube channel, The Coco Novak Show, the one and only Coco Novak. Coco, welcome, and thank you so much for joining the live. I'll leave the floor to you in a second to do the introductions. Just bear with me. I'm so excited about that. It's one of those live talks when you feel the energy in the room. It's just me in the room, by the way, but live on stage and everything. Yes. So, Coco, thank you so much. Take it away and give us a little introduction about yourself and the book mostly and the podcast show.
Yeah, hi Jonah, and hi everyone listening. It's so much fun to be here. It's always nice doing a session with you and chatting with you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the show. So yeah, I'm an ex-scientist, I guess. And then at the end of 2003, so in December, I launched my own. Oh, here's a cat. So sorry about that. She's always interested in what I'm doing.
Oh, sweet. I can borrow her.
I published my first book called Single and Too Tired.
We have a guest appearance, basically.
He's so needy for attention.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Cat
life.
Keeping until this moment. So I published my book Single and Too Tired to Mingle. I really wanted to publish a book for a long, long time and write it. So it's about relationships, basically, with yourself, with your exes. If you have children, it's very important to have a good relationship with your ex, for sure. Otherwise, it doesn't matter too much.
I can't comment on that because I don't have any part of experience in that, but I can relate.
For many
in parts.
So whilst it's my autobiography, there's also a lot of research in the book, probably more than 100 different references. So you can definitely read up on a lot of topics that I write about, like parenting, like how the world, different countries support new parents or new mothers. So Europe supports new mothers very well, even up to a year, or I think the Scandinavian countries, nearly 2 years of full salaried maternity leave. Whereas, more developed countries offer very, very little in support, in a way of supporting new parents in general. So there's a lot to read about, actually. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. There's a lot of anecdotes in there as well. So from that, I think you can see it in the background. That's kind of the front cover. Next time I'll have it with me. Yeah, and from then I launched a podcast, The Coco Novak Show, which is available on YouTube in a video format and also all the other audio formats. I basically interview people on the topic of relationships, but different kinds of relationships. And I often interview psychologists or clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, which I love to do. I think it's really interesting to find out kind of the root causes. And just, I think people function in a basic way, like the same. I don't think we're very much different from each other. So it's very interesting to see, someone from a clinical perspective, and you think, oh, actually, I'm not unique. I'm not that different. Everyone goes through similar things. It just depends how you process it. And yeah, the podcast has over 18,000 subscribers, actually. Some of the videos have over 20,000 views easily. So it's very, very interesting. So I was on season 2. I'm going to start recording new interviews in February as well. So I'm going to restart and reboot it again. I had a tiny little break. Life happens, as we'll discuss it later. But I love interviewing people on the topics that I think, and clearly it's grown so quickly. So I started it in March last year, and by the time October hit, it had nearly 19,000 subscribers. So clearly an interesting topic. And I think oftentimes we're kind of scared to ask about things as well that don't go so well in our lives. Obviously, we see on social media everyone thriving and living their best lives and having adventures, and we're like, oh, I'm in a bit of a rut. Whereas they probably are too, but they're just like that nanosecond that they had fun, they decided to post, So yeah, I think relationships, with ourselves primarily, which is the most important relationships, are definitely an interesting topic for everyone.
Thank you, Coco. That actually anticipated my question, which is great because we are on the same page, apparently. We've had conversations in the past. We have quite good conversations. Sometimes they are heated, sometimes not. But yes, touching on the topic of how life looks across social media platforms in the digital world or in a virtual world, really, at this point. So. I know we always see success. We measure that by the way people talk about success, by people being in different places, exotic places, or if they're not exotic places, there are some mountain chalet places, which are amazing, by the way. But we think, oh, well, I'm not there. So who am I? How can we make this balance without stepping into comparison? And without stepping into the non-authentic. So this is not me. This is not me. So I'm not gonna be that person. But nevertheless, I want to be that person. So how can we divide this element, this moment?
Yeah, very good question. I love the word comparison, and I think that's something that, in general, we should just get out of our system. You're living your own life. What you see, I read this somewhere one time, very long time ago, and I thought it was so interesting. What you see in people's lives, and especially in social media, is the final version on stage. If we're thinking about life being a theatre, as I think was it Shakespeare or whoever said life is a theatre. So you see their final polished micro version of their life. And, you know, I don't know, why would you be comparison to a tiny degree is fine, but I think you should not be comparing your life to anyone else's. Everyone's life is an intricate kind of weave of so many things. Like, you can't compare someone that has children versus not having children, and even not having children, maybe there's trauma there as to why they don't have children. So, you know, maybe you're having a hard day with your kids, but then someone who doesn't have kids is dying to have that trauma or that, you know, unfortunate day with kids. Likewise, they have more time to develop things and to move forward quicker than you have, because you have certain responsibilities that someone without children doesn't have. So it's very hard to compare. Also, someone in their 20s, I don't know, I know a lot of men and women compare themselves physically. A 20-year-old cannot compare themselves to a 30, 40, 50, whatever year old, you know. So and what do we see on social media is like that best millisecond of your life, probably retouched and, you know, re-recorded 15,000 times. At the same time, I think it's difficult to filter that within yourself. So when you're looking at an image, perhaps you're having a difficult time right now, and then you're looking at someone who's successful in business, successful in a relationship, successful in a travel that you wanted to go to. So it's very hard to filter within yourself, like, okay, I want to be there and it looks amazing, but right now is not, I can't do that. So I think it takes a lot of internal strength to realize that you are where you are and you have to make the best of that. That being said, not every day is the best. So what do you do when you're not feeling your best? And I find that sometimes taking notes of your day really, really, really helps and sets your mind to the fact that you're actually having quite a good day, despite the fact that things might not be going ideally. And there's a quote that I read somewhere saying, you know, are you having a bad day, or are you milking that 5 seconds of misfortune the whole day? Right. And that's happened to me before. I've had an amazing day, then something happened, you know, disrupted that amazing flow of the day, and I was like in a rubbish mood. And then I'm thinking, why am I doing this to myself? Just because like a shitty event happened doesn't mean my whole day or my life is bad, actually. So it's really important to be realistic with yourself. And I think on average, most people have a really good life. Of course, life is not just an upward trajectory. No one on this planet has just an upward trajectory. No one. So, you know, I think as long as life is going like that, kind of up with its ups and downs, it's fine. And when you do find yourself in a spiral downwards, I think the most important thing is just not to give up. Everyone's had bad spells in life. and you've survived, therefore you'll survive another bad spell. That's just life. That's everything. So yeah, I think filtering out in your brain what you see on social media and realizing it's a micro moment of someone's life.
That must have been edited heavily. So some editing going on in that moment in life, for sure. But having said that, some people have those moments, like real authentically speaking, they might have those moments in life. They are captured and they're there for some reason for the audience. I think it's how we as viewers, or how we as buyers in this case, buy the idea, and how we interpret that idea, what is happening around us, rather than the actual fact that it's happened to them. Doesn't have to happen to me. Even if it happens to me, maybe I'm not gonna be that ecstatic as that person who had that heavy edited video clip or something across social media. So we always think that everything is straight upward. So life is beautiful. Everyone is having good time. We're having, oh, as you said, a rubbish time. Those 5 minutes of rubbishness in the day make up for the day. So we count them as tragically. That's the day. It's done. We can't do anything else. But how can we be more resilient? How can we build resilience through those moments? That's something negative, we call it negative, but maybe it's not negative as such, but something not quite good as we expect it happen, and then it takes a turn that everything is out of the window for some reason in our mind, not necessarily throughout the day.
I think resilience is an interesting topic, to be fair, and I think some people have it more genetically, if you want, more intrinsically. They're a more resilient character. I think I'm one of those. And some people are not so resilient to stress and to negativity in life, right? I think if you're kind of naturally more resilient, I think it's quite fortunate. It's a little bit easier to handle. If you're naturally not so resilient, and you find negativity really affects you badly, I think a couple of routes are probably good to go down. So one is maybe find a friend who's a little bit more resilient and who knows you well and who you're not scared to speak, your true authentic self to. Also knowing that you're not naturally so resistant might be a good way to go. I always find that reading books is a good way to do it. I like reading autobiographies, I have to say. Because it just shows you that everyone has gone through struggles, and if you've persevered, you've been successful on some level. Success is also an interesting topic. What is success, right? Which is something that I struggle with, because I have these grandiose ideas what success is.
That's part of comparison. So it's very much linked with the comparison.
Could be part of comparison. Could be. And then if you dial it back and you think, what is success? I'm doing okay in life. I have healthy children. I do sports on a regular basis. I do things that I love. Maybe I want to travel more, but I travel quite a bit. So, I have a roof over my head. I have a warm shower. I have a coffee every morning. So that's quite successful. Not everyone has that, right? So sometimes you have to dial it back into little micro moments. And again, if we're speaking about resilience and when you are down, I actually found it really funny one time. I was changing a password. I couldn't remember the password for the life of me, right, to something. And then I'm like, okay, fine, let me just change the password. And he goes, you cannot use your old password. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. And then I happened to be on Twitter, now X. And there happened to be a feed going, oh, I did this exactly the same. And then so many people said they did the same. And I'm like, okay, I'm not the only idiot in this world who changes their password back to the old password that they can't remember. So if we are talking about social media, I think it's nice to sometimes see that the collective is doing the same kind of, either good or bad things like you. So that's kind of one positive. But I think it's important to remember when we are down that that's a natural life circumstance as well. However, you do need to work actively and proactively to get yourself out of that. And sometimes it takes a long, long time. I think like, I don't know how many years back, I had like a really difficult year. Like everything was just hard. Things were just happening in business, in personal life. And I'm like, I can't even deal with this anymore. It's like everything on every single front. And then somehow, but of course, I'm always proactive and working in a lot of things. I have a lot of projects on the go just because I like to work. And then kind of the year turned and everything started going upwards. It's kind of like, imagine a negative spiral and it kind of bounces down and it goes back up. And sometimes it takes a while for that bounce to happen. But I always try and say to myself, listen, you can always give up tomorrow. There's always giving up is easy. You can just decide and you give up, right? It's difficult to work your way through things. But I think that once you've worked through things and things then turn around, I think you can use that experience for when things happen negatively for you later on, right? So you've gone through difficult things. You've now thrived in whatever area you're thriving in. And when that negativity happens again, because, someone's not going to sign that contract, someone will leave you, someone will do whatever. You can look back on the times when it was hard for you and you've survived through that, and you can use that to make yourself stronger. And also it's important to remember that you can only control the controllables, what you can control. Your life is actually to a large extent out of your control, which is quite a weird thing to think about, but you don't control other people. You cannot control circumstances outside of yourself. You can do the best you can do, but if someone decides to quit, not sign the contract, regate on that contract, whatever, it's out of your control. So you have to realize that things are not always going to be in your control. Your life is not always in your control. So control the controllables, I think, is an important thing that can give you a lot of confidence, I think, when you're realistic about things that you can and cannot control. It's sometimes difficult because we think it's your life, you have everything under control. You don't. You have very little, actually, which is a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, it's fascinating, actually. Yes, I agree with that. It's very true. So we want to be some we say control freak. So some people are those, and some people aren't those. But even that, we don't know who is what. So you don't know who you are. I mean, you know who you are, but you cannot say, okay, I'm a control freak 100%. Maybe you're not. It's how you see yourself, and people perceive you in a different way. But you touched also on the topic of setbacks, right? So because we can't control everything, obviously. So how can we deal with setback? We can't control. We are aware we can't control the other things around us, so we are not in charge of that. But how can we deal with it? Like emotionally speaking, because it's always a part of the emotions, even in business. It's not just life in general.
Yeah.
So we have the excitement about work,
we do,
and our business. So yeah, so it's the patient there, and so yeah.
Yeah, I have this quite bizarre book. It's called Transurfing, or Transurfing Reality, or something like that. It's by a Russian writer. It's 1,000 pages, massive. And it's quite a quirky book that I found somewhere. It was a Russian bestseller back, I don't know in what day, whatever, this guy had published his book. And I was just reading about this recently, because it was I needed to retouch on my setbacks and get my mind in order. And it does help, actually. Again, setbacks will happen in life, right? It's annoying when they happen because we want to just have like a nice positive life. We want everything to go well. Setbacks will definitely happen, whether it's personal or it's business, whether it's relationships. It is what it is. So what we need to do, I think, and this is another topic which is quite difficult sometimes for people to take on, is a thing called detachment. Right? We have positive and negative detachment. Some people are just detached, which is not a good thing to be, right? You don't just want to be detached from life in general, because then you're not being actively involved in life, and it's actually quite a lonely place to be. Some people are too attached. I guess we could go into attachment theory here, which is a different topic altogether. But I think the attachment to things and events is where these emotional, psychological issues happen with setbacks. So what we need to remember is that it's just the attachment and the importance that we place on whatever's happened. Okay. Let's say nothing is fatal in life and dramatic. Very little thing. Okay, some things are very little. Okay. Let's say in business, you've had a setback, you've wanted a job really badly, or you've wanted a contract really badly, and it was almost set, and then they pull back at the last minute, right? We've all experienced that in business, I'm sure. It just depends how much importance you place on that thing and whether you accept it or not, okay? Probably about 10, 11 years ago, I interviewed for this really amazing job in London. I was like, it was perfect to what I was doing at that time as well. So I was a perfect fit. The salary was great. It was a really interesting job. And they flew me in and they interviewed me. I thought it went great. And then it turned out I didn't get the job. And I was so kind of down morally on myself, and I was really disappointed. And then I realized after a couple of days or maybe a week, it's because I was trying to fight that within myself. And then once I accepted the fact that, okay, fine, it didn't happen, that acceptance made me get over it very, very quickly. So I accepted the fact that I was hurting, that I was disappointed, that I didn't get something I thought I should have got. And then as soon as I was realistic to myself about it, that I'm hurting, it released its grip on me. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So sometimes we're trying to fight that disappointment, whether someone leaves us, whether a contract is not signed. And if you actually allow yourself to feel hurt and admit to yourself, okay, this is hurting me, you will find that the grip releases itself a little bit more. It's just when we're trying to fight that disappointment, I find that it's more difficult to get over it. So attachment and the importance are interesting. So how much importance and why is it so important? Just because something hasn't happened, maybe that, there's a window there that's open that you haven't seen. So instead of trying to bang yourself against the closed door, have a look around you. There's something that will open. So just admit it to yourself, let yourself feel it, and then just change. You have to change direction. There is no point banging against something that's not going to open for you. And it might open for you at a different stage, but you have to release that grip of importance and attachment to whatever has been hurting you and wherever you feel the setback and the disappointment. Because I think it's the disappointment and the expectations. As soon as we have an expectation, we're building something in our brain. And then when reality doesn't meet that expectation is when we call it a setback. But then if you're realistic, you've set an expectation of something that wasn't necessarily even there. And just because I have an expectation doesn't mean you have that same expectation. So you do have to take a step back. You have to take that emotional pain and hit. It doesn't have to be a lot. And then you don't even need to process it. I think that once you just accepted that it hurts you, it does seem to release the grip a little bit. And new windows and doors will always open. Nothing is set in stone. Not very many things are set in stone in life,
I like this mindset. It's really good. It's like a practice mindset. A little session, little conversation with yourself about the expectations, what you want, what happened. So it's analyzing a little bit backwards what happened, how it happened, and what we have lost about this opportunity. Because I think it's also, we link it with the opportunities we miss. So it's like I've missed something big. So I missed something some time ago, and I think I've missed something big. But probably at the end of the day, now that I realized after months, I'm aware. So now I realize I haven't lost anything.
Correct.
On the contrary, I've gained some more traction. I've gained some more freedom. I've gained more achievement. So it's personal how you feel it. So I've achieved more without having that opportunity. So it's interesting how we interpret ourselves and how we see and how we think about things. Well, Coco, thank you so much. We are about to wrap up. We have a few minutes left. I'd like for you to please tell the viewers, the audience, and whoever is going to watch the replay. Thank you very much for whoever is going to watch the replay. Can you tell us where we can find your book? I had your book. I've read it. Obviously, I said that at the very beginning, but how the audience can find your book?
Yeah, if you go on YouTube and just search for the Coco Novak Show, you have, in the little bio that's there, you have all the links. So on Amazon, of course, Where else can you find me? You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on.
We can find you right here because I can see it at the back. And people have just to Google up Single and Too Tired to Mingle.
Indeed.
There's only one book, and that's from the one and only Coco. So it's not a duplicate. It's not a copy of something, but it's your book, and I'm sure the audience will recognize that on Google. So that's another way.
YouTube channel, basically. So
yes, YouTube channel to follow you. Obviously, subscribe to your show. It's beautiful. I haven't been yet on your show. There, I said it live. But something to think of. Yes. Something to think of from February, the time that you are going to start fresh with your podcast series again. Thank you very much, Coco. I'll see you soon at the Wadsworth Networking event happening next week on Wednesday, the 29th at 7 p.m. You are again one of the guest speakers. It's fantastic, and I look forward to have you there. Yeah. Anything else, Coco, you want to add here for the viewers?
Yeah, I think get the book, Single and Too Tired to Mingle. Hit me up with any questions you have. And remember, you create the opportunities for yourself. Yeah. So
wonderful.
Opportunities you've missed, you can create new ones. It's okay.
It's okay. It's everything is okay. It's how we gravitate. If we gravitate towards dramatic, well, I tend to do that sometimes, obviously. Well, you mentioned that I need to find the person who is more on it. Like, yes. So I'm gonna come over. Yeah, I'm gonna ping you a message or something, and then we can discuss this separately from the live. Thank you so much, Coco. Thank you everybody for watching the live, and I hope you can connect with Coco and obviously come to the networking event next week, the 29th.
Let's do it.
Thanks so much, Coco.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.